A biker ran out of gas on Highway 3. What walked toward him? A limping 12-year-old boy holding 8 crumpled dollar bills would unlock a 3-year mystery and trigger the largest Hells Angels mobilization Montana had seen in a decade. "This is for gas," the boy said. "It's all I have." Vincent Hayes didn't know those $8 would connect him to a debt 185 brothers had been trying to repay for 3 years. 48 hours later, what they discovered would emotionally destroy every single one of them. This is Jesse and Stryker's story. And the twist nobody saw coming is that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can settle the biggest debt. Subscribe and comment where you're watching from. This story asks, how much is $8 worth? For Jesse, a limping 12-year-old, it was everything he had. He gave it to a stranger for gas. But that stranger was Vincent Hayes. And those $8 unlocked a mystery 185. Hells Angels had been trying to solve for 3 years. Sometimes you help someone without knowing they're connected to something bigger. Sometimes kindness isn't random. It's a debt being repaid before you even know you're owed. When's the last time you gave everything you had to help a stranger? "It's all I have, sir. But there's a gas station 4 miles east. This should get you a gallon, maybe 2. Thursday, September 19th, 2019, 3:47 p.m. Highway 3, Montana. The wind cut across the empty grassland with the kind of cold that gets under your skin even when the sun's still up. 52 degrees, but the 15-mile-per-hour gusts made it feel like 45. Vincent Stryker Hayes stood beside his dead motorcycle, leather cut pulled tight, and watched his breath fog in the afternoon air. Fuel pump failure. Rare. Bad luck. And now he was stranded 40 miles from the nearest gas station with 0 cell service and a pride that made hitchhiking feel like swallowing glass. 6 cars had passed in the last 12 minutes. 6 drivers who'd seen a solo Hells Angel with his thumb out and decided their day didn't need that kind of complication. He didn't blame them. Big guy, full patch, standing alone on an empty highway. It wasn't exactly the image that screamed safe to stop. He checked his watch. 3:47 p.m. The club meeting in Missoula started at 7. He'd left Billings at 11, expecting a smooth 3:50 ride. Now he'd be lucky to make it by midnight. That's when he saw the figure. Small. Moving west. Walking with a limp so pronounced it was painful to watch from 200 yards away. A kid. Alone. On an empty Montana highway, where the next house was 14 miles in either direction. Stryker's first thought, where the hell are this kid's parents? His second thought, as the figure got closer and the limp became impossible to ignore, something's wrong. The boy couldn't have been more than 12, maybe 13, 4'9" at most, 70-something pounds soaking wet. He wore a gray t-shirt 3 sizes too big with a faded Montana state logo, jeans held up with a rope belt, and sneakers that had holes in both toes. Actual holes, where you could see skin. But it was the walk that made Stryker's chest tighten. Every third step, the kid winced. His left leg was shorter than his right, and he compensated by swinging it out slightly, landing hard on his right foot, his whole right side dipping with the impact. Tap scrape, tap scrape, tap scrape. The rhythm of someone who'd been walking like this for years. The kid stopped 10 feet away, standing with all his weight on his right leg, shoulders hunched inward like he was trying to make himself smaller. "Excuse me, sir." His voice was soft, polite, slightly hoarse. "Are you okay?" Stryker blinked. Most kids saw a Hell's Angel and crossed the street. This one was asking if he was okay. "I'm all right, kid. Bike broke down. Just waiting for help." The boy's eyes, hazel, intelligent but tired, flicked to the motorcycle, then to the Hell's Angels patch on Stryker's cut, then back to Stryker's face. "You're Hell's Angels?" Stryker's shoulders tensed slightly. Kid knew the name. That could mean a lot of things, and not all of them good. "Yeah," he said carefully. "You know about us?" The kid's face broke into the first real smile Stryker had seen on him. Small, but genuine. "My dad was Hell's Angels, Montana chapter. He said you help each other. Is that true?" Stryker's heart did something complicated in his chest. Was. Past tense. This kid's dad was dead or gone, and here he was, standing on an empty highway, asking if bikers still helped each other. "Yeah," Stryker said quietly. "That's true. We take care of our own." The kid nodded, like Stryker had just confirmed something important. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out 3 crumpled bills, a 5, a 2, and a 1, and held them out. "There's a gas station 4 miles that way." He pointed east, the direction he'd been walking from. "This should get you a gallon, maybe 2. It's all I have." Stryker froze. This kid, thin enough that his ribs showed through his shirt, wearing shoes with holes in them, shivering in a 52-degree wind without a jacket, was offering him money. $8. All he had. Because his dad said bikers help each other. Stryker knelt down slowly, bringing himself to the kid's eye level. Up close, he could see more. The hollow cheeks, the dark circles under his eyes, the way his left hand kept drifting to his hip, rubbing it when he thought Stryker wasn't looking. "Kid," Stryker said, voice rougher than he meant it to be. "I can't take your money. You need that." The boy's jaw set in a way that reminded Stryker of someone, though he couldn't place who. "Dad always said, if you see a brother stranded, you help, even if it's all you got. You're stranded. I'm helping." Stryker's throat went tight. This kid sounded exactly like... "What was your dad's name?" The boy stood a little straighter, shoulders back, like just saying the name made him proud. "Dylan Bennett. He was Montana chapter. He died 3 years ago. Motorcycle accident." His voice didn't waver, but his eyes got wet. "But he taught me. Bikers are family. So I'm helping family." The world stopped. Dylan Bennett. Dylan Bennett. This was Dylan's son, the boy Stryker had been looking for since June 14th, 2016, standing right here, offering $8. Because his father, the man who died saving Stryker's life, taught him to help stranded bikers. Stryker stood up fast, heart hammering, and looked down at the memorial patch on his cut, the one he'd added the week after Dylan's funeral, the one he wore every single day. "In memory of Dylan Bennett." He turned it so the kid could see. "Kid," Stryker said, and his voice cracked completely. "Your dad saved my life, June 14th, 2016. He was my brother, my best friend." Jesse's eyes went wide. Then tears spilled over, and he didn't bother wiping them away. "You knew my dad?" "I knew your dad." Stryker was crying now too, 47 years old, and crying in front of a 12-year-old on an empty highway. "And he would be so damn proud of you right now, offering a stranded biker your money because that's what you do. That's exactly what Dylan would have done." He took the $8. Not because he needed it, because refusing would have dishonored what this kid was trying to do. "What's your name?" "Jesse. Jesse Bennett." "Jesse, I'm Stryker. I rode with your dad for 12 years, worked construction with him. He was the best man I ever knew." Stryker's hands were shaking. "And I'm about to honor his memory by making sure you and your mama are taken care of. Where do you live?" Jesse pointed west. 14 miles that way. Trailer on Old Mill Road." 14 miles? Stryker's voice went sharp. "And you're walking?" Jesse shrugged like it was normal, like walking 14 miles alone on an empty highway was just what 12-year-olds did. "I walk to school and back every day. 12 miles. Bus costs money." Stryker looked at the limp, the shoes with holes, the exhaustion in every line of this kid's too thin body. "With that leg?" he asked quietly. "You walk 12 miles every day?" "It's okay." Jesse's voice got smaller. "Dad said Bennetts are tough. I'm tough." And that's when Stryker understood exactly how bad things had gotten. Because Dylan Bennett had been tough, had walked through pain without complaining, had worked 12-hour construction shifts with a pulled muscle and never said a word, had taught his son that toughness meant enduring. But Dylan had also made damn sure his son never had to endure alone. "Jesse, listen to me." Stryker put a hand on the kid's shoulder, gentle. "Your dad was my brother. That means you're my brother, and brothers take care of each other. I'm gonna walk to that gas station, get fuel, come back. Then I'm following you home. I need to see your mama. We got a lot to talk about." Jesse's face went worried. "Mom doesn't know I gave you the money. It was my lunch money for next week. She'll be upset." "I'll handle it," Stryker said. "Trust me. Your mom is about to understand what Hell's Angels family really means." Jesse hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, but can you not tell her I walked extra today?" "Extra? I didn't walk straight home from school." Jesse looked down at his feet. "I walked 6 miles east first, toward the gas station. Then I'm walking 8 miles back west to get home. 14 total instead of my usual 6 home. I did it because—" He swallowed. "I wanted to help you get to the gas station faster. 4 miles is better than 40, right?" Stryker nearly broke down right there. This kid, already exhausted from walking 12 miles daily with a painful leg disability, had walked an extra 8 miles to help a stranger he thought might need a gas station nearby. "You walked 8 extra miles," Stryker said, voice barely above a whisper. "To help me. Dad would have done it." Yes, Stryker thought. He would have. And that's why I'm about to move heaven and earth for this kid. "Go," he said gently. "Get home before dark. I'll see you soon." Jesse turned and started walking west. Tap scrape, tap scrape, tap scrape. Stryker watched until he was out of sight. Then he turned east and started walking toward the gas station 4 miles away, carrying the 8 crumpled dollars Jesse had given him. And he cried the entire way. 6:00 p.m. Highway 3. It took Stryker 90 minutes to walk to the gas station, buy 2 gallons of fuel, and walk back to his bike. The fuel pump was still dead, but he poured enough in to limp the bike 20 miles to the nearest repair shop. He didn't go to the repair shop. He went west. 14 miles down Highway 3, then another 2 miles down a dirt road that turned into something barely recognizable as a road at all. And there, at the end of that rutted, forgotten path, was 2847 Old Mill Road, a 1973 mobile home. Stryker had seen bad housing before. He'd worked construction in rough neighborhoods, helped friends move out of condemned buildings. But this The trailer was dying. The siding was falling off in sheets. The roof had a blue tarp stretched across it, weighted down with cinder blocks, covering holes big enough to see through. 2 windows were cracked and duct-taped. One was broken completely, covered with cardboard that looked like it had been there for months. The front steps were concrete blocks stacked unevenly, a slip hazard waiting to happen. There was no car in the driveway, no car anywhere. The propane tank beside the trailer had a gauge showing red, empty or close to it. And through the thin curtain on the one intact window, Stryker could see a single light. Dim. Yellow. He parked his bike 100 yards back, hidden behind a cluster of dead trees, and walked closer on foot. 6:40 p.m. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple, and the temperature had dropped to 48 degrees. Inside the trailer, Jesse sat at a small folding table, eating instant ramen from a chipped bowl. Alone. No mother. No adult supervision. He'd walked 14 miles today, and now he was eating 50-cent noodles by himself in a freezing trailer with holes in the roof. Stryker pulled out his phone. Still no service. He walked back to his bike, rode 3 miles until he found a signal, and made the first call. Tiny, it's Stryker. Robert Tiny Hayes, Montana chapter president, 61 years old, founder of the Billings Club back in 1987, answered on the second ring. Stryker, where the hell are you? Missoula meeting started an hour ago. I'm not coming to Missoula, Stryker said. I need every brother within 200 miles at a location in Billings. Now. Silence. Then, what's going on? I found Dylan's kid. Tiny's voice changed immediately. Sharp. Focused. You what? Dylan's kid. Jesse, 12 years old. He walked up to me broken down on Highway 3 and gave me $8, his lunch money, to help me get gas. Because Dylan taught him bikers help each other. Jesus, Tiny breathed. Tiny, they're bad off. Real bad. Trailer's falling apart. Kid walks 12 miles to school every day with a leg disability because they can't afford the bus. Mom's working 3 jobs. No car, no heat. Winter's 3 weeks away. We lost track of them for 3 years, and they've been living like this the whole time. Where? 2847 Old Mill Road, Rural Route 7, Billings. What do you need? Everyone, every brother in Montana. I need them here by Saturday morning. I need tools, materials, money. We're fixing this, Tiny. All of it. How many are you thinking? Stryker didn't hesitate. Dylan had 185 brothers at his funeral. I want 185 brothers at his son's rescue. Can you do it? For Dylan? Tiny's voice went rough. We'll have 200, count on it. The line went dead. Stryker made 4 more calls in the next 20 minutes. Call 2. Blake Hammer Sullivan, club treasurer. Blake, it's Stryker. I need club emergency funds. Dylan Bennett's widow and kid. Crisis situation. Dylan's family. Blake's voice went sharp. How much? Start with 20,000. New home, medical for the kid, car repair, trust fund setup. I'll have exact numbers by tomorrow. Done. Dylan saved your life. We take care of his family. What else? Start a fundraiser. GoFundMe. Club network. Whatever it takes. Dylan's kid walks 12 miles to school every day with a leg disability because they can't afford a $47 bus pass. I want this family set for life. Understood? Understood. I'll have initial funds by morning. Call 3. Dr. Richard Morrison, orthopedic surgeon. Dr. Morrison, it's Stryker Hayes. I need a favor. Kid, 12 years old, leg length discrepancy, walks 12 miles daily without proper brace. Can you see him tomorrow? 12 miles daily? Morrison's voice went cold. With untreated leg issue? That's poverty, not neglect, Stryker cut in. Single mom, 3 jobs, can't afford care. Kid's dad was my club brother. Died saving my life. I'm fixing this. Can you help? Pause. Then, bring him tomorrow. 9 a.m. I'll fit him myself. Custom brace, proper lift, physical therapy plan. What's your budget? Whatever it costs. Money's not the issue. Fixing this kid is. Then it's free, for Dylan's kid. Call 4. Tony Wrench Martinez, master mechanic. Wrench, it's Stryker. You still got that '08 Honda Accord sitting in your lot? The one you fixed up for resale? Yeah. Why? Dylan Bennett's widow. Her car's been dead 8 months. Transmission. She's been walking to 3 jobs or borrowing neighbors' cars. I need you to fix her car. Today. Or give her that Honda. Whatever gets her mobile by Monday. Dylan's widow? Wrench's voice softened. Consider it done. I'll have something ready by tomorrow afternoon. Call 5. Carl Doc Henderson, former Army medic. Doc, it's Stryker. I need medical coordination. Dylan's kid, 12 years old. Malnutrition, leg disability, chronic pain. Mom's working 85 hours a week and still can't afford care. Can you handle liaison? Dylan's kid? Doc's voice went quiet. What do you need? Coordinate with Morrison. Get the kid into physical therapy. Monitor his recovery. Make sure nothing falls through the cracks. 6 months minimum. I'm on it. Dylan was a brother. His kid gets whatever he needs. By 7:30 p.m., Stryker had his team. By 8 o'clock p.m., the word was spreading through Hell's Angels chapters across Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. Dylan Bennett's family found. In crisis. Mobilization Saturday. Billings. Be there. And across 3 states, brothers started making calls to their wives, their bosses, their families. I need to go. Dylan's boy needs us. Not a single person said no. Friday, September 20th, 2019. 9:30 a.m. Stryker stood on the uneven concrete blocks that passed for front steps and knocked on the trailer door. It took 30 seconds for anyone to answer. When the door finally opened, chain still on, just a crack, a woman's face appeared. Michelle Bennett, 34 years old. Dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Exhausted eyes. The kind of exhaustion that came from working the overnight shift at a gas station, sleeping 2 hours, and waking up to a stranger at your door. She saw the Hell's Angels cut, and her face went from tired to terrified. Can I help you? Stryker removed his sunglasses so she could see his face. Mrs. Bennett? Michelle? I'm Vincent Hayes. Road name's Stryker. I rode with your husband Dylan. Montana chapter. Her face shifted. Shock. Then grief. Then anger. I don't want anything to do with the club, she said, voice hard. Please leave. She started to close the door. Wait, Stryker's voice was urgent. Please, I met Jesse yesterday, on Highway 3. He gave me $8 to help me get gas. He said Dad taught me bikers help each other. Michelle, your boy walked 14 miles yesterday to help a stranger, because Dylan raised him right. Michelle's hand froze on the door. You met Jesse? Yesterday, 3:47 p.m. He was walking home from school, alone, 6 miles with that limp. Michelle, I didn't know. None of us knew where you were. We've been looking since 2016. If I'd known you were struggling, if I'd known Dylan's boy was walking 12 miles a day to school, we would have been here years ago. Michelle's jaw tightened. We're fine. We don't need charity. Stryker looked past her, into the dim trailer. At the folding table, the single lamp, the water-stained ceiling. Then he looked back at her and showed her the patch on his cut. In memory of Dylan Bennett. "This isn't charity," he said quietly. "This is family. Dylan died saving my life, June 14th, 2016. I was road captain. Dylan was riding behind me. Drunk driver hit us head on. Dylan swerved to take the impact. He died so I could live." Michelle's face crumpled. "You're the one Dylan saved?" "I'm the one Dylan saved. And I'm here because your son, your incredible son, honored his father's memory yesterday by helping a stranger with all the money he had. $8. His lunch money for the week. Michelle, Dylan would be so proud of that boy." Michelle started crying. 3 years of holding it together. 3 years of working 85 hours a week. 3 years of watching her son walk in pain while she couldn't afford to fix it. "I've tried so hard," she whispered. "I work 3 jobs. It's never enough. Jesse needs medical care I can't afford. The trailer's falling apart. I don't know how much longer I can—" "You're not alone anymore," Stryker said. "You've got 185 brothers who are about to show you what Hell's Angels family means. Starting now. Will you let me in?" Michelle looked at him for 5 long seconds. Then she unhooked the chain and opened the door. Inside the trailer, Stryker could see everything Michelle had been trying to hide. The water stains spreading across the ceiling like bruises. The duct tape holding the kitchen cabinet doors closed. The space heater in the corner, the only source of warmth, with a frayed cord that was a fire hazard waiting to happen. The refrigerator that hummed too loud, working too hard, probably months away from dying completely. Michelle sat at the folding table, hands wrapped around a mug of instant coffee, and told him everything. "Jesse needs a leg brace," she said, voice flat with exhaustion. "Custom orthotic with a lift, $4,800. I've been saving for 2 years. I have $847 in a jar under my bed. Not even close." Stryker pulled out a notebook, started writing. Michelle kept talking. "The trailer's condemned. Or it should be. Roof leaks every time it rains. I can't afford repairs. Propane tank's almost empty. It costs $300 to fill. Winter's coming and I don't have it. My car broke down 8 months ago. Transmission, $2,800 to fix. I've been walking to my jobs or borrowing my neighbor's car when she doesn't need it. But she's starting to need it more, and I don't blame her. Jesse walks 12 miles to school every day because I can't afford the bus pass. It's $47 a month." Her voice cracked. $47? And I can't afford it. I work 85 hours a week. 3 jobs, diner, 6 to 2. Cleaning houses, 3 to 9. Overnight gas station, 11 to 6. I sleep maybe 3-4 hours a night. And Jesse's alone 16, 18 hours a day. He's 12 years old. He shouldn't be raising himself. She looked up at Stryker, and her eyes were devastated. "I thought I could do it alone. Pride, grief. I didn't want pity. So I cut everyone off after Dylan died. The church offered help. I stopped going. The school counselor offered to connect us to services. I said we were fine, and Jesse suffered because I was too proud to ask for help." Stryker stopped writing and looked at her. "Michelle, listen to me. Today, this changes. I'm taking Jesse to Dr. Morrison, orthopedic surgeon, club connection. He's fitting Jesse for a custom brace. Free. Today." Michelle started to protest. Stryker kept going. "This weekend, tomorrow, 185 Hell's Angels are coming here. We're replacing this trailer with a modular home. Donated. We're assembling it ourselves. You'll have a real home by Sunday night. Your car. My guy Wrench is fixing the transmission right now, or he's giving you a different car. Either way, you'll have transportation by tomorrow afternoon." School bus. I'm calling the district today. Jesse rides the bus starting Monday. No more walking. Trust fund. Club's raising money. We're setting up a fund for Jesse's future. College, trade school, medical, whatever he needs. We're starting with $80,000. Michelle's hands started shaking. Why? Why would you do all this? Stryker's voice broke. Because Dylan Bennett took a drunk driver's car head-on so I wouldn't have to. Because he gave me my future, and I'm giving Jesse his. And because yesterday, your 12-year-old son stopped to help a stranger with $8, all he had, because his father taught him that's what family does. He leaned forward, held her gaze. You're not alone anymore, Michelle. You haven't been alone. We just couldn't find you, but we found you now, and we don't abandon family. Friday, September 20th, 2019, 10:00 a.m. Billings Orthopedic Center. Dr. Richard Morrison had been practicing orthopedic medicine for 31 years. He'd treated professional athletes, accident victims, children born with severe disabilities. He thought he'd seen everything. Then Stryker walked in with Jesse Bennett. Morrison watched the kid cross the waiting room. Tap scrape, tap scrape. Every third step, a wince. Right shoulder dipping. Left leg swinging out in compensation. How far do you walk daily? Morrison asked after the x-rays, after the measurements, after the gait analysis that made his jaw clench tighter with every data point. 12 miles, Jesse said. 6 to school, 6 back. For how long? 3 years, since my dad died. Morrison looked at the x-rays. Left leg 2.3 inches shorter than the right. Hip dysplasia developing from years of compensatory gait. Mild scoliosis from the uneven walking. Chronic inflammation in the left hip joint. Stress fractures in the right knee from overcompensation. This kid had been walking 12 miles daily for 3 years with an untreated leg length discrepancy that should have been braced when he was a toddler. Jesse, Morrison said carefully, you've been walking on a leg that's almost 2.5 inches too short, without support for 3 years. Most people couldn't walk a single mile like this. The pain must be... It's okay, Jesse said quietly. Dad said Bennett's are tough. Morrison looked at Stryker. Stryker's face was stone, but his eyes were wet. We're fixing it, Morrison said. I'm making you a custom brace with a 2.3-inch lift for your left leg. Full orthotic support. Shock absorption. When you put this on, you'll walk without limping for the first time in your life. Do you understand what I'm saying? Jesse's eyes went wide. It won't hurt anymore? It won't hurt anymore. It'll take 2 weeks to manufacture the brace. But when it's ready, you're going to walk. And you're going to run if you want to. Have you ever run before, Jesse? Jesse shook his head, tears spilling over. No, sir. Never. Morrison's voice went rough. You're about to. Friday, September 20th, 2019. 7:00 p.m. Hell's Angels. Montana Chapter Clubhouse. 23 men sat around a long table in the meeting room at 3847 Iron Horse Lane. Every one of them wearing their cuts. Every one of them waiting. Robert Tiny Hayes stood at the head of the table. 61 years old, gray beard, arms crossed, face carved from granite and experience. Most of you know why we're here, Tiny said. For those who don't, Dylan Bennett's widow and son, found after 3 years. Living in conditions I wouldn't house a dog in. Kid walks 12 miles to school daily with a leg disability. Mom's working herself to death and still can't keep up. Stryker's asking for full club mobilization. 185 brothers. tomorrow. He looked around the table. Show of hands. Who's willing to give up their Saturday to honor Dylan's memory and take care of his family? The room went quiet. 23 men, all wearing cuts that said they were brothers, all waiting to see who'd commit first. For exactly 3 seconds, nothing. Just the tick of the clock on the wall and the distant sound of motorcycles outside. Then every single hand went up, not a moment's hesitation, not a single dissenting voice. 23 men voting unanimously to spend their weekend helping a woman and child they'd never met, because Dylan Bennett had been their brother. And brothers don't abandon family. Tiny nodded once, sharp and satisfied. Good. Calls go out tonight. I want every chapter in Montana, every brother within 300 miles, here by dawn. We've got 16 hours to coordinate. Let's move. Saturday, September 21st, 2019. 6 o'clock a.m. 2847. Old Mill Road. Michelle woke to a sound she hadn't heard in 3 years. Motorcycles. Not one, not two, dozens. She stumbled to the window, still in her gas station uniform from the overnight shift, and looked outside. The dirt road leading to her trailer was lined with motorcycles. Perfect formation. Chrome gleaming in the early morning light. And more coming. The rumble starting low and distant, then building into a roar that shook the thin walls of the trailer. Jesse appeared beside her, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Mom? What's happening? Michelle couldn't answer. Because she was counting. 20 motorcycles. 50. 100. They kept coming. The formation pulled in tight, disciplined, practiced from years of riding together. They parked in precise rows in the empty field beside the trailer. Engines cutting off almost in unison, the sudden silence after all that noise feeling heavy and expectant. And then the riders dismounted. 185 Hell's Angels. Black leather cuts, Montana patches, Wyoming patches, Idaho patches, all bearing the same insignia, the same commitment. They stood there, not moving, not shouting, simply present. Stryker walked to the front of the group and knocked on Michelle's door. When she opened it, chain still on, heart hammering, he smiled. Told you, he said quietly. 185 brothers. Dylan had this many at his funeral. We figured his son deserved the same turnout for his rescue. Michelle's legs nearly gave out. What are you going to do? We're giving you a home, Stryker said. Real one. Watch. At 6:30 a.m., the work began. Now you might be thinking, 185 Hell's Angels descending on a rural property, and chaos is about to break loose. Noise complaints, disorder, maybe some property destruction in the name of help. That's not what happened. What happened instead was a coordinated operation with military precision that would make any construction foreman weep with envy. Because these weren't just bikers. These were electricians, plumbers, carpenters, welders, mechanics, men who'd spent decades building things, fixing things, making things work. And they'd come prepared. 6:30 a.m. Team assignments. Tiny stood on the trailer steps with a clipboard and a voice that carried across the field. Team 1. Demolition and site prep. Get that trailer off the property and the ground leveled by noon. Team 2. Utilities. Water, electric, septic. I want everything inspected and ready for hookup by 2 p.m. Team 3. Foundation and assembly. Modular home goes up starting at 3. We're done by dark. Team 4. Interior finishing. Furniture, appliances, stocking, make it move-in ready. Team 5, vehicle. Wrench, you're getting Michelle's car running or finding her a replacement. No excuses. Assignments given. Questions answered. Tools distributed. At 6:45 a.m. they started. 7:00 a.m. The witnesses emerge. The noise drew neighbors, people who lived a mile, 2 miles away, coming out to see what the rumble was about. Patricia Winters arrived first. 62 years old, lived 1.3 miles east, had been the school counselor at Clearwater Middle School until she retired last year. She saw Jesse standing beside his mother, watching the bikers work, and her hand went to her mouth. Stryker noticed, walked over. "You know this family?" Patricia nodded, couldn't meet his eyes. "I was Jesse's counselor. 2 years ago, 2017. I saw him come to school exhausted, falling asleep in class. I saw the limp getting worse. I offered to connect Michelle to social services, housing assistance, medical programs, free school supplies. What happened?" She said they were fine. Patricia's voice shook. "She declined the help, and I respected her wishes. I didn't push. I thought maybe she knew best. But I saw Jesse walking past my house every morning and every afternoon, 12 miles, in the heat, in the cold, limping, and I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere." She finally looked at Stryker, tears on her face. "I should have pushed harder. I should have made those calls anyway. A 12-year-old walking 12 miles in pain every day isn't fine. I knew it then. I didn't want to be wrong. Didn't want to make things worse." Stryker's voice was gentle. "You're here now. That counts for something." "Does it?" Patricia whispered. "Because I don't know if it does." 9:00 a.m. Second witness. David Harrison, 38 years old, 7th grade English teacher at Clearwater Middle School. He showed up with a box of school supplies, new backpack, notebooks, pens, calculator, and stood at the edge of the work zone, uncertain. Carl Doc Henderson saw him and waved him over. "You know the family?" "I'm Jesse's teacher," David said. Am. I noticed him falling asleep in class last spring, multiple times a week. I noticed he wore the same clothes 3 days in a row sometimes. I called Michelle once, asked if everything was okay at home." "What did she say?" "That they were adjusting, that Jesse was fine, and I—" David set the box down, ran a hand through his hair. "I accepted that answer, because what was I supposed to do? He wasn't being abused. He was just tired, poor, and poverty isn't grounds for a CPS call, so I noted it in my files and moved on." His voice went bitter. "I teach 32 kids. I can't save them all, right? That's what I told myself. But the truth is, I could have done more. I could have arranged for free breakfast, could have connected Michelle to the food bank, could have talked to the principal about waiving Jesse's activity fees. Small things. Things that would have mattered." Doc put a hand on his shoulder. "You brought supplies now. You're here. That's something." David looked at the bikers, welding, hammering, lifting, and shook his head. "Is it? Because 185 strangers are doing more for this kid in one day than I did in an entire school year." 11:30 a.m. Third witness. Pastor Glenn Sawyer, 58 years old, First Baptist Church. He drove up in a church van with his wife and 3 deacons, carrying boxes of food, blankets, and a check for $2,000 from the church benevolence fund. Tiny met him at the road. "You know the Bennetts?" "I presided over Dylan's funeral," Glenn said quietly. June 2016. Michelle attended our church for years before that. After Dylan died, she came to the funeral service. We offered ongoing support, meals, financial help, counseling. She attended 2 more Sundays, then stopped. We called a few times. She said they were managing. We respected that, gave her space to grieve. Tiny's face was unreadable. And then? And then we lost touch. Glenn's voice cracked. We got busy. Other families needed help. We told ourselves Michelle would reach out if she needed us. But the truth is, we let her slip away. We stopped checking in, stopped calling. We assumed silence meant she was okay. He looked at the trailer, the one being torn down right now, piece by piece. She wasn't okay, and we should have known that, should have kept reaching out. Widows with young children don't just manage after losing their spouse. They struggle. And we were supposed to be there for that struggle. Tiny accepted the boxes. You're here now. 3 years too late, Glenn said. 1:00 p.m. The system failure revealed. Blake Hammer Sullivan, club treasurer, 42 years old, former insurance investigator, was going through Michelle's financial documents with her permission, trying to set up the trust fund. That's when he found the letters. 3 of them. From Clearwater Middle School, dated November 2017, March 2018, and September 2018. All marked. Final notice. Blake read them twice, then walked them over to Tiny. We've got a problem. Tiny read the first letter. Dear Mrs. Bennett, this is the 3rd notice regarding unpaid student activity fees for Jessie Bennett, grade 6. Total outstanding balance, $127. If payment is not received by December 1st, Jessie will be barred from participating in all extracurricular activities, field trips, and school events. Additionally, he will not be permitted to attend the end-of-year celebration or receive a yearbook. Please remit payment immediately. The second letter was worse. Dear Mrs. Bennett, Jessie Bennett has been absent 23 days this semester. While we understand family hardships, excessive absences impact academic performance and federal funding. If attendance does not improve, we will be forced to report this to the County Truancy Board. Additionally, Jessie's outstanding fees of $127 remain unpaid. We cannot continue to make exceptions. Payment required by March 15th. The third letter made Tiny's hands shake. Dear Mrs. Bennett, this letter serves as formal notification that Jessie Bennett is no longer eligible for school bus transportation due to non-payment of the annual bus pass fee, $47 a month, $423 a year total. Effective immediately, alternative transportation must be arranged. Jessie may still attend school, but transportation is the parent's responsibility. Tiny looked up at Blake. They kicked a disabled kid off the school bus over $400. Worse, Blake said. Look at the date. September 2018. That's when Jessie started walking 12 miles a day. The school created this situation, then documented his absences, which were caused by him being too exhausted from walking to get to school on time, and threatened the mother with truancy charges. Tiny's voice went dangerously quiet. Find out who signed these letters. Blake checked. Assistant Principal, Roger Dennison, and the superintendent countersigned the bus removal. Names, Tiny said. I want names, titles, and a meeting scheduled for Monday morning. Because this wasn't just poverty. This wasn't just a struggling family falling through the cracks. This was a school system punishing a child for being poor, then threatening his mother when the punishment made things worse. 2:00 p.m. The modular home arrives. The semi-truck pulled up at 2:00 p.m. exactly, carrying a 28 by 48-foot modular home. Brand new. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, full kitchen. donated by Ray's Manufactured Homes, owned by Raymond Diesel Tucker, Hell's Angels Idaho chapter, who'd driven 12 hours overnight to deliver it himself. Value: $48,000. Cost to Michelle: $0. The old trailer was already gone, hauled away to the dump. The ground was leveled. The utilities were inspected and ready. At 2:30 p.m., the crane started lifting sections into place. At 3:00 p.m., the walls went up. At 5 p.m., the roof was sealed. At 6:30 p.m., the interior finishing began. Michelle and Jesse stood 100 yards back, watching 185 men work in synchronized chaos. Hammering, drilling, welding, wiring, plumbing. Not a single raised voice, not a single argument, just coordinated efficiency that came from men who'd worked side by side for years, who trusted each other completely. Jesse whispered, "Mom, is this real?" Michelle couldn't answer, because she was crying too hard. 7:45 p.m. The car. Tony Wrench Martinez walked up to Michelle, wiping grease off his hands, and held out a set of keys. "Your Honda's fixed. New transmission. Flushed the fluids. Replaced the brake pads while I was at it. You're good for another 100,000 miles. Michelle stared at the keys. "How much do I owe you?" "Not a damn thing. Dylan was a brother. This is for him." "But the transmission alone cost me $300 in parts because I buy wholesale and my labor's free for family. Take the keys, Michelle. Your car's in the driveway." She took the keys. Her hands were shaking so hard, she almost dropped them. Saturday, September 21st, 2019, 9:00 p.m. The house was finished. 23 hours after the first motorcycle arrived, the modular home stood complete. Walls painted, floors installed, furniture placed. Kitchen stocked with a month's worth of groceries, donated by 6 different club members. Bedrooms set up with new beds, new linens, new everything. Jesse's room had a desk, a bookshelf, a reading lamp, and a window that actually closed properly. Michelle's room had a real bed, not a fold-out cot, and a dresser and a closet big enough for her 3 work uniforms, plus actual regular clothes. The bathroom had hot water that worked, a shower with good pressure, a door that locked. The living room had a couch, a television, a coffee table. Normal things, basic things, things Michelle hadn't had in 3 years. Tiny walked Michelle and Jesse through the house, showing them everything, and stopped in the kitchen. Utilities are paid through the end of the year, property taxes covered for 2 years, insurance active, propane tank filled. You own this house outright. No rent, no mortgage. It's yours. Michelle couldn't speak. "There's more," Tiny said. He handed her an envelope. "Trust fund for Jesse. $82,000 so far, and the GoFundMe's still active. This is for his future. Medical care, education, whatever he needs. We also set up a monthly stipend, $600, for ongoing expenses. And starting Monday, Jesse rides the school bus. We paid the annual fee. No more walking." He looked at Jesse, voice going gentle. "Your dad was one of the best men I ever knew, kid. He taught you right. You proved that when you gave $8 to a stranger because it was the right thing to do. We're making sure you never have to sacrifice like that again. Understood?" Jesse nodded, tears streaming. "Yes, sir." Tiny smiled. "Good. Now we've got 185 brothers outside who want to meet Dylan's boy. You up for that?" Outside, The bikers stood in a loose semicircle. Not intimidating. Just waiting. When Jesse walked out, they started clapping. Slow at first, then louder. Then every single man was applauding. 185 Hell's Angels, honoring a 12-year-old kid who'd walked 14 miles to help a stranger. Stryker knelt down in front of Jesse, eye level, and pulled something from his pocket. A patch. Custom made. It read, "Dylan's Legacy." "This is for you," Stryker said. "You're not a member. You're too young for that. But you're family, and family gets recognized. You wear this, every brother in every chapter across the country will know. You're protected. You're one of us. Because your dad was one of us, and he raised you to be exactly the kind of man we respect." He pinned the patch to Jesse's jacket. Jesse looked down at it, then up at Stryker. "My dad would be proud, wouldn't he?" Stryker's voice broke completely. "Your dad would be so damn proud, Jesse. And we're going to make sure his sacrifice, saving my life, means something. By taking care of you and your mom, for as long as you need us." Jesse hugged him. And 185 grown men, bikers, veterans, fathers, brothers, stood in the September darkness and cried. Sunday, September 22nd, 2019. 10:00 a.m. Michelle stood in her new kitchen, in her house, making breakfast on a stove that actually worked. Eggs. Real eggs, not instant ramen. Toast from bread that wasn't stale. Orange juice in glasses that matched. Jesse sat at the table, eating slowly, like he couldn't quite believe the food was real and wasn't going to disappear. Through the window, she could see 3 motorcycles still parked outside. Stryker, Doc, and Tiny had stayed the night, sleeping on the new couches, making sure the family felt safe in their first night in the new house. Stryker walked in from the living room, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "How'd you sleep?" Michelle's voice was soft. "I slept 6 hours. I haven't slept 6 hours straight in... I can't remember when." "Good," Stryker said. He poured himself coffee, from the coffee maker the club had stocked, and sat across from Jesse. "We need to talk about logistics. Make sure nothing falls through the cracks." He pulled out a folder. Inside, paperwork. Organized. Color-coded. Every detail handled. "School," Stryker said, sliding papers across the table. "Bus pickup starts Monday, 7:15 a.m., right at the end of your driveway. Annual pass paid in full. I also called the principal Friday. All outstanding fees waived. Jesse's slate is clean." Michelle's throat tightened. "You didn't have to..." "Yes, I did. And we're not done. Doc's coordinating Jesse's medical care. 6 months of physical therapy, twice a week. Brace should be ready in 2 weeks. Doc will drive Jesse to appointments until you're comfortable with the schedule." Carl "Doc" Henderson walked in, medical bag in hand. "Speaking of which, Jesse, I need to check your vitals. Make sure we have a baseline before therapy starts." He pulled out a blood pressure cuff, stethoscope, notepad. Took Jesse's BP, pulse, listened to his heart and lungs. Made notes. Professional. Gentle. "You're underweight," Doc said matter-of-factly. 78 pounds when you should be 95 minimum. But we're going to fix that. I'm setting you up with a nutritionist. Free clinic, club connection. They'll design a meal plan to get your weight up safely. No rush, no pressure. Just healthy eating." Jesse nodded, eyes wide. Doc smiled. "You're a tough kid, Jesse. But tough doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. That's what we're here for, to make life easier so you can just be a kid for a while. Sound good?" "Yes, sir." Monday, September 23rd, 2019. 7:15 a.m. The school bus pulled up at the end of the driveway exactly on time. Jesse stood there with his backpack, a new one, donated by his teacher, Mr. Harrison, stuffed with new supplies, and looked up at his mother. "I've never ridden a bus before," he said quietly. Michelle knelt down, smoothed his hair. "I know, baby, but you're going to now. Every day. No more walking." The bus doors opened. The driver, a woman in her 50s named Carol, smiled down at Jesse. "You must be Jesse Bennett. I've got a seat right up front for you, honey. Nice and close." Jesse climbed the steps. Tap, scrape. Tap, scrape. But this time, only 3 steps, not 12 miles. He sat in the front seat, pressed his face to the window, and waved at his mother. Michelle waved back, tears streaming, and watched the bus pull away. Behind her, Stryker's voice was quiet. "He's going to be okay." "I know," Michelle whispered. "For the first time in 3 years, I actually believe that." Tuesday, September 24th, 2019. 4:00 p.m. Hayes Auto Repair. Tony Wrench Martinez was under the hood of a '98 Chevy when Jesse walked into the shop with Stryker. "Hey, kid," Wrench called out, wiping his hands. "Stryker says you've been curious about bikes. Want to learn some basics?" Jesse's face lit up. "Really? Really, come here." For the next hour, Wrench taught Jesse how to check oil, change a tire, read engine diagnostics. Simple stuff, foundational stuff, the kind of thing a father teaches a son on a Saturday afternoon. "Your dad was good with his hands," Wrench said while showing Jesse how to torque a bolt properly. "Dylan could fix anything. He taught me half of what I know about Harleys. I think he'd like knowing his boys learning the trade." Jesse's hands were careful, precise. He listened to every word, asked good questions. Didn't rush. "You're a natural," Wrench said. "Tell you what, you come by every Tuesday after school, I'll teach you more. By the time you're 16, you'll be able to rebuild an engine. Deal?" "Deal," Jesse said, grinning. And Stryker, watching from the doorway, thought, this is what Dylan wanted. His boy learning, growing, safe. Thursday, September 26th, 2019. 3:00 p.m. Billings Orthopedic Center. Dr. Morrison called Jesse back into the exam room with a large box in his hands. "It's ready," he said, smiling. 2 weeks early. My fabrication team worked overtime." He opened the box. Inside, a custom orthotic brace. Black carbon fiber. Precisely engineered. With a 2.3-inch lift built into the left side. Jesse stared at it like it was something from a science fiction movie. "This is going to change everything," Morrison said. He knelt down, helped Jesse remove his old shoe, fitted the brace carefully, adjusted the straps, checked the alignment, made micro-adjustments until everything sat perfect. "Stand up, slowly." Jesse stood. For the first time in 12 years, both feet were level, his weight distributed evenly, his hips aligned, his spine straight. "How does it feel?" Jesse's eyes were huge. "It doesn't hurt." Morrison's voice went soft. "It's not supposed to hurt, son. Walk for me." Jesse took a step, then another, then another. No limp, no wince, no tap-scrape rhythm that had defined his entire life. Just walking. "Oh my God," Michelle breathed from the doorway. "He's walking normal." "Better than normal," Morrison said. "Now, Jesse, I want you to try something. I want you to run." Jesse looked up at him, uncertain. "Run?" "Run." Just to the end of the hall and back. Don't worry about being fast. Just try. Jesse hesitated, then took off. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't smooth. His form was terrible because he'd never done it before. But he was running. 10 steps. 20. He reached the end of the hall, spun around, laughed, actually laughed, and ran back. He stumbled, caught himself, kept going, and when he reached his mother, he crashed into her arms, both of them crying, both of them holding on like they'd never let go. "I ran, Mom. I ran." "I know, baby. I saw." Stryker stood beside Morrison, watching, and had to turn away to wipe his eyes. Morrison put a hand on his shoulder. Dylan would be proud. "Yeah," Stryker said roughly. "He would be." Friday, September 27th, 2019. 6:00 p.m. Hell's Angels, Montana. Chapter Clubhouse. The clubhouse at 3847 Iron Horse Lane was packed. Not a formal meeting, more like a family dinner. Brothers, wives, children. Food spread across 3 tables. Music playing. Laughter. Jesse walked in with Michelle and Stryker, and the room erupted in cheers. Because word had spread fast. Dylan's boy got his brace. Dylan's boy could run now. Tiny stood up, raised his beer. "To Jesse Bennett, toughest kid in Montana. Your old man would be proud as hell." "To Jesse," the room chorused. Jesse ducked his head, embarrassed, but smiling. After dinner, Stryker pulled Jesse aside to the memorial wall. A section of the clubhouse dedicated to fallen brothers. Plaques, photos, patches. And there, in a shadow box with museum-quality mounting, were 3 items. A photograph of Dylan Bennett, smiling, alive, wearing his cut. The $8. 3 bills, 5, 2, 1, preserved behind glass. A small plaque that read, "The $8 that brought Dylan's family home, September 19th, 2019. Below that, in smaller text, "Jesse Bennett, 12 years old, gave everything he had to help a stranger. Because his father taught him, bikers are family. This is the legacy of Dylan Bennett. This is what brotherhood means." Jesse stared at it, reading it twice. "You kept the money?" "I kept the money," Stryker said. "Because what you did that day, Jesse, stopping to help when you had every reason to just keep walking, that's the kind of act that deserves to be remembered. Every brother who walks through this clubhouse will see this, and they'll remember. Family Tsimman takes care of family. Always." Jesse's voice was small. "I just did what Dad taught me." "Exactly," Stryker said. "And your dad taught you right." Monday, September 30th, 2019. 9:00 a.m. Clearwater Middle School, Principal's Office. Tiny, Stryker, and Blake Hammer Sullivan sat across from Principal Janet Howell, Assistant Principal Roger Dennison, and the District Superintendent Thomas Marsh. Blake laid the 3 letters on the desk. The fee notices. The truancy threat. The bus removal. "Explain these," Blake said quietly. Dennison shifted uncomfortably. "Those are standard procedure for unpaid fees." "Standard procedure," Tiny interrupted, voice like gravel, "is to kick a disabled 12-year-old off the bus over $400, then threaten his mother with truancy charges when he can't get to school on time because he's walking 12 miles. Silence. Blake leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. Every fee Jesse Bennett was charged, waived retroactively. Every absence marked against him, expunged. And you're going to create a hardship waiver program so this never happens to another family. Because if we find out you're punishing poor kids for being poor, we'll make sure every parent in this district knows exactly what you did. Superintendent Marsh cleared his throat. That's not necessary. It's very necessary, Stryker said. We're not here to threaten. We're here to fix a broken system. So fix it. Principal Howell, who'd been silent the whole time, nodded slowly. We'll implement the changes. Immediately. Good, Tiny said. He stood up. Because Dylan Bennett's son deserves better, and so does every other kid in this school. They walked out. Justice served. 3 months later, December 20th, 2019. The Billings Community Center was decorated for Christmas. Lights strung across the ceiling, a massive tree in the corner, tables covered in food. The Hells Angels, Montana. Chapter threw a holiday party every year. But this year was different. This year, Jesse Bennett stood at the front of the room, holding a microphone that Blake had handed him, looking terrified. I'm not good at speeches, Jesse started, voice shaking. But Mr. Stryker said I should say something. The room, 75 people, brothers and families, went quiet. 3 months ago, I was walking home from school, like I did every day, and I saw a biker who needed help. So I helped him, because my dad taught me that's what you do. His voice got stronger. I didn't know that biker was the man my dad saved. I didn't know he'd been looking for me and my mom for 3 years. I just knew he needed help, and I had $8, and that's what family does. He looked at Stryker, standing near the back, arms crossed, eyes wet. What happened next changed my life. Mr. Stryker and 185 brothers showed up and gave us a home. A real home. They fixed my leg so I can walk without hurting. They made sure my mom doesn't have to work 3 jobs anymore. They taught me about motorcycles and engines and what it means to be part of something bigger than yourself. Jesse's voice cracked. My dad died saving Mr. Stryker's life, and Mr. Stryker spent 3 years trying to repay that debt. But the truth is, there's no debt, because that's what family does. We save each other. We help each other. We show up. He wiped his eyes. So thank you, all of you, for showing up for me and my mom when we needed it most, for honoring my dad's memory, for teaching me that even when the world feels impossible, there are people who care. The room erupted in applause. And Jesse, 12 years old, wearing his Dylan's legacy patch, standing without a limp, smiled. 6 months later, March 2020, Highway 3, mile marker 47, the same spot where Jesse had met Stryker 6 months ago. Jesse stood on the shoulder with Stryker, both of them looking east toward where the gas station was, 4 miles away. You remember standing here? Stryker asked. I remember everything about that day, Jesse said. I was scared you wouldn't take the money. I thought maybe I wasn't helping right. You helped exactly right, Stryker said. You know what the most incredible part of that day was? What? You walked 14 miles, 8 of them extra, out of your way, in pain, exhausted, because you thought it might help a stranger find a gas station faster. Jesse, most people wouldn't walk across the street to help a stranger. You walked 8 miles. Jesse shrugged. Dad would have done it. Your dad did do it, Stryker said quietly. He swerved into a drunk driver to save my life. Took the impact that should have killed me. And you, without even knowing it, you did the same thing. You gave everything you had to help someone you didn't know. That's the Bennett legacy. That's what your dad passed down to you. They stood there in the March wind, 55 degrees. Sunny. Jessie wore a jacket now. A good one. Warm. That actually fit. "Come on," Stryker said. "Your mom's making dinner, and I promised Wrench I'd bring you by the shop after. He wants to teach you carburetor rebuilds." They walked back to Stryker's truck. Jessie climbed in. No limp, no pain. Just a kid getting in a truck with someone who loved him. As they drove away, Stryker glanced in the rearview mirror at the empty highway behind them. "Thank you, Dylan," he thought, "for teaching your boy right, for giving me another chance, for trusting me with your family. I won't let you down. But this story isn't really about motorcycles or patches or even $8. It's about the people we overlook, the families suffering in silence because pride tells them asking for help is weakness, the children walking miles in pain because the system designed to protect them charges fees they can't afford. It's about the invisible crisis happening right now, in your town, on your street, to people you pass every single day. 6 months after that September day on Highway 3, Jesse Bennett's life looked completely different. He made honor roll for the first time in 3 years. Turns out, kids learn better when they're not exhausted from walking 12 miles daily. He joined the school robotics club, started making friends, gained 18 pounds under Doc's nutritionist-designed meal plan and regular meals at home. His limp was gone. Completely. The custom brace corrected his gait so thoroughly that strangers couldn't tell he'd ever had a disability. He ran track in PE, played basketball at lunch, did normal 12-year-old things. Michelle cut back to one job, daytime manager at the diner, 40 hours a week, benefits included. She was home when Jesse got off the bus. Home for dinner. Home to help with homework. She slept 7 hours a night. Her blood pressure dropped to normal. The stress lines around her eyes softened. The GoFundMe campaign raised $127,000. The trust fund for Jesse's future sat at $143,000 after the club matched donations. College was guaranteed. Trade school if he wanted it. Medical care for life. The financial cliff they'd been teetering on for 3 years became a safety net that would catch them no matter what. And every Tuesday, Jesse went to Wrench's shop and learned how engines work, how metal bends, how broken things can be fixed if you have the right tools and enough patience. The Hells Angels. Montana chapter adopted Angels Watch, a program to identify struggling families of fallen brothers, veterans, or first responders. They partnered with local churches, schools, and social services to find the families falling through the cracks. The Bennetts weren't the last family they helped. They were the first in a new tradition. Clearwater Middle School implemented a hardship waiver program. Any family unable to afford fees could apply for automatic exemption, no questions asked, no shame required. Bus passes became need-based. Free breakfast and lunch expanded. In the first year, 73 families applied for assistance. 73 families who'd been suffering silently, too proud or too scared to ask. Because Jesse's story became impossible to ignore once people knew. But here's what I need you to understand. There are Jessies everywhere. Children walking too far, working too hard, sacrificing too much because their families are hanging on by threads, widows working themselves to death because the system that promised support disappeared the moment the funeral ended. Families trapped between pride and poverty, choosing silence over asking for help because help feels like failure. And there are systems, schools, churches, communities, neighbors, that see the signs and do nothing. Not out of malice, out of assumption. They're probably fine. Someone else will handle it. It's not my place to interfere. But Patricia Winters, the school counselor, learned the hard way. Silence doesn't mean fine. It means drowning quietly. David Harrison, the teacher, learned, one phone call isn't enough when a child is suffering. Pastor Glenn Sawyer learned, giving people space to grieve can become abandoning them to grief. The school system learned, charging fees to families who can't afford them doesn't teach financial responsibility. It punishes poverty and calls it policy. And 185 Hells Angels proved something the system had forgotten. Helping people isn't about paperwork or programs or waiting for someone else to take the first step. It's about showing up, seeing the need, acting immediately. You don't need a motorcycle to be someone's striker. You don't need a club patch to mobilize help for a struggling family. You need to pay attention. That neighbor whose lights are always off because they can't afford the electric bill. The coworker who wears the same clothes 3 days in a row. The kid at your child's school who's always hungry, always tired, always alone. They're not fine. They're Jesse, 6 months ago, walking 12 miles in pain and telling himself Bennett's are tough. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Are you okay? Really okay? Can I bring you dinner this week? What do you actually need? Not, let me know if you need anything. What do you need right now? Offer specific help, not vague promises. Don't wait for someone else to notice. Don't assume silence means managing. Because Jesse's story could have ended very differently. If Stryker's bike hadn't broken down on that exact mile marker, if Jesse had been too scared to approach, if the club hadn't mobilized immediately, if even one person had said, this isn't our problem. But none of those things happened, because one man remembered a debt. One club honored a fallen brother. 185 people decided that Dylan Bennett's sacrifice would mean something by protecting the family he left behind. And here's the part that still breaks me. Jesse gave $8, everything he had, to help a stranger because his father taught him that's what family does. He didn't know that stranger was the man his father died saving. He didn't know that small act would unlock 3 years of searching and trigger the largest rescue operation the Montana chapter had ever organized. He just knew someone needed help. And he had $8. That's the lesson. Small acts matter. Giving when you have almost nothing matters. Showing up when you're exhausted and hurting matters. Because you never know when your $8 will be someone's miracle. You never know when your attention, your question, your meal, your offer to drive someone to an appointment will be the thing that keeps them from drowning. If this story moved you, do 3 things. 1. Pay attention this week to the people around you. Who's struggling silently? Who needs help but won't ask? 2. Offer specific help. Not, let me know if you need anything. Specific. I'm bringing you dinner Tuesday. I'm driving you to that appointment. I'm paying that fee. 3. Share this story. Because somewhere, there's a Michelle working 3 jobs and failing anyway. There's a Jesse walking too far in too much pain. There's a family that needs to know help exists if they'll just accept it. Subscribe to Gentle Bikers. If you believe in second chances, in chosen family, in the power of showing up when it matters most, comment below. Who was your striker? Who showed up for you when you needed it? Or who do you want to show up for? And remember Dylan Bennett's legacy. Bikers are family. Family helps each other, even if it's all you got. 18 months after that September afternoon, Stryker stood at Dylan's grave with Jesse. It was March 2021. Jesse was 13 now, taller, healthier, confident in a way he'd never been before. They laid flowers on the headstone. Dylan Robert Bennett, 1982-2016. Beloved father, brother, friend. I tell him things, Jesse said quietly, when I'm alone. I tell him about school, about Wrench's shop, about the house. Think he hears me? Stryker put a hand on Jesse's shoulder. I think he does, and I think he's proud. You honored his memory, Jesse, every day, by being exactly the kind of person he raised you to be. Jesse looked at the memorial patch on Stryker's cut, the one that said, "In memory of Dylan Bennett." Then at his own patch. Dylan's legacy. Mr. Stryker? Yeah? Thank you for seeing me that day, for not driving past, for caring enough to find out who I was. Stryker's voice was rough. Thank you for walking up to a stranger on an empty highway and offering $8 you couldn't afford to lose. Because that's when I knew. Dylan's son was exactly who he should be. Brave, kind, willing to help, even when it costs everything. They stood there in the March sunshine, wind rustling through the cemetery grass, and neither of them said what they were both thinking. Dylan's sacrifice saved Stryker's life in 2016. And Jesse's sacrifice, $8, 14 miles, one moment of courage, saved his own life in 2019. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can repay the biggest debt. And sometimes family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. This is Jesse and Stryker's story. It doesn't end here. It's still being written. Every Tuesday at Wrench's shop. Every dinner at Michelle's table. Every meeting at the clubhouse where Jesse's learning what brotherhood really means. The $8 is still on the wall, a reminder. A promise that we see the invisible. We help the struggling. We never forget our own. Ever.